Chief Sampson, welcome to the broker room, mate.
Thank you very much, Mark. Good to see you as always.
Totally. CCO, that's Chief Commercial Officer at Prime Capital.
Yeah, that's my fancy title.
That's where you are these days. You've been there, 12 months?
Yeah, about 7 months now. Yeah.
Just quickly tell us about Prime Capital. What does Prime Capital do? Where you play?
Yeah, so Prime Capital is a lender to SMEs. So we play in the space where the banks won't or don't want to do business with SMEs.
Yep.
Generally, our client would have some real estate security that they need to borrow against, and they would use money for all sorts of things such as working capital and the like. And particularly in the market at the moment where the economy is picking up, you know, there's a big call for this type of capital for businesses to move forward. The banks are tightening up on their lending to SMEs. APRA are getting tighter, but we fit in that non-bank space where, you know, we can look at the securities, the client, and we make it much easier and faster to get finance.
Yeah, because the SME audience, and I guess if you're a broker, you need to listen to this because you're going to have SME clients, or that's a place you should be chasing into SME clients. Apart from needing money to buy a house, they might already have a joint with a fair bit of equity in it, and they've got a business. They might be a self-employed, like a plumber, or they might be running a shop, or whatever the case may be, a small manufacturing business. What is it that the banks have started to do that makes it more attractive for brokers to push their client across to, say, your organisation? When you say banks are tightening credit, what are they saying? Look, we don't want to do small to medium enterprise anymore, or we're just going to be tougher on them, or we don't like the purpose of the money?
Yeah, from what we see in the market, you know, they don't have the financials that they used to have in banks.
You mean accounts?
Yeah, the profit and loss.
Yeah.
You know, and especially after the pandemic, so they've got no record.
Yeah.
You know, they're increasing their interest rate buffer, so it's making it harder for SMEs.
Yeah, so that's the margin.
Yeah.
You're talking about the margin
Correct,
that they assess on?
That they assess the loan on, yeah. And there's something like 43% of SMEs can't or don't think they can get business from a bank.
Yep.
Because they don't have those type of financial records, you know, and they don't feel the banks will support them.
So, Steve, like, let's say I'm an SME, you know, my business is a small to medium enterprise. I haven't got my 21 accounts done. What's the minimum you require? Do you need my accountant to have done my 20 accounts? Well,
No, look, we're simpler than that and we're faster than that. So what we do is we get a self-certified income from you, and we work from that, and we use our technology in the background to assess how much we're going to lend that particular SME.
Where do you manage the risk? Do you sort of say, well, look, you self-certify and we'll lend you maximum 60% of the value of the property, or something like you manage your risk through the value of the real estate? Is that sort of how you do it?
That's exactly right.
Yep. And
dependent on what that real estate is the value. So
yeah,
if it's a residential property, you know, we're more generous than if it's a commercial property.
So what we go up to, for example, in a, I don't know, let's take a resi by way of example. Yeah.
Yeah, 70% LVR on a resi.
Resi. Yeah, so and self-certified on a 70% LVR. That's old school non-conformers.
Well, it is.
Yeah,
and,
I like that.
And that's the part of the market that has been underserviced at the moment. So
and where's your rate sitting? You like your fair or fairly reasonable?
Those sort of rates with a resi property, that's on 4.95.
At around 5%. That's pretty good. Yeah. So, and what's your turnaround? Fast?
Oh, we're really fast. I mean, we're fast and simple. We turn around in 24 hours. We'll get an approval out.
Is that, and we're talking about subject to certified. Is it
subject to evaluation?
Certified val? They've got to go there.
We get a val, but we get vals done in a couple of days.
Yeah. Okay. Sweet.
And we can settle, and we've done it, and we're doing it a lot at the moment. Coming to Christmas, we can settle within 5 days.
So and what are we talking about now? But is it a range? Where do you go up to? Where do you stop?
250 is our minimum.
Yep.
And we go up to 10 million.
Yep.
And we can do more than 10, but that's the range that we hit on.
Very good. Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I mean, I guess to some extent, by the very nature of the structure of how you lend, it's sort of more short term too, to some extent too.
Well,
a lot of them go a couple of years.
We go up to 3 years
Yep.
on our terms, but our clients can pay out at any time with 30 days notice. So they can, and there's lots of ways you can use our type of finance. If I can give you an example, I had a guy that bought a property in Paddington for $8 million, and he was going to unsell it. and he was a real estate agent. He had sporadic income, couldn't satisfy the bank's servicing criteria. We lent him 70, I think it was 60% of that, and he was going to on-sell it. So his exit was just to get out. So we were able to get him from A to B.
Right. Okay. Excellent. That's good stuff. And I just want to have a little talk to you about. Recently I saw that 67% of all residential mortgages originated with brokers. That's a new high for the broker world. Yeah. It looks as though we're going to go above 70%. We're going to sort of copy or follow what the UK's done. Your experience with brokers outside of Prime sort of goes back way back. Yeah. I mean, I know you from the Bank of Sydney days, where you set up the residential commercial broker part of the business. In other words, got Bank of Sydney's product into those brokers. You're on our panel at VOW. I know the YBR guys use you guys for residential as well. Bank of Sydney for residential as well, I should say, not you anymore. Were you at the Bank of Sydney when it was called Lakey Bank?
Yeah.
Do you go back that far?
No, and I don't have any Greek heritage or Cypriot heritage either. I actually joined when it just became the Bank of Sydney, so I think I qualified then.
Yep.
You know,
yeah.
being an Aussie. So and it was basically, I think, a year after it changed its name that I started there.
Yeah, because they changed the name when the Bank of Lebanon took control away from the Bank of Cyprus.
Yeah, they changed it to the Beirut Hellenic Bank.
Yeah.
Which was a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
Not kind of. Only was one community. So
yeah, totally.
Bank of Sydney.
It's a great name, unbelievable. Yeah. And they are a good bank. I mean, I deal with the Bank of Sydney. I mean, I've got mates there. Nick Pappas is the chairman. I've got Fawaz as a friend of mine. There's a few people who I know they're quite well. They're a good bank, and they've been doing good stuff. And so you were sort of part of the team that put them on the map in terms of broker world.
Yeah.
That was an important move, because if they don't have branches, I mean, it's a bit the same as like Prime. You guys don't have branches as such. You've got, at the end of the day, people like yourself, Prime, Bank of Sydney, or whoever it is, you need a broker to make a recommendation to their client about your product.
Yep, that's exactly right.
And then a client might go and Google you guys, Prime Capital. They might go and Google you just to get to know a little bit about you. They might want to see if there's any Google reviews. They might want to Google Bank of Sydney. They might talk to someone who's had an experience at Bank of Sydney, etc. But at the end of the day, it's the broker guy who introduces that product and that lender to the borrower.
Oh, completely.
So how important are brokers to you?
Mark, whether you know, but I've been in the broker market since 1986.
Well, that's a long time.
So it's right at the beginning over in WA. So obviously broker has been my life, and I've seen it grow from 12% market share to now 66, 67% market share. Consumers want choice. Consumers, and it's a convoluted world out there when you want to borrow money, and prices and everything. And brokers can direct the customer expertly to the right product that suits them. And I think, the MPS on loans that are introduced by brokers to banks is something like 60 or 70% or 60-70 rating.
Yep.
So, obviously, they need the expertise. Brokers are the most important piece of the distribution channel for finance in Australia.
And I know the Treasurer's been saying that, the Federal Treasurer's been saying that a lot lately, about how brokers bring competition to the marketplace by, for example, taking an on-bank product like Prime to borrowers. And it's actually very important for the Treasurer to keep on this conversation, because at a time when we want to make sure the economy grows, growth always requires liquidity.
Yep.
People grow with liquidity.
Yep.
And liquidity means cash. You've got to get money into the business. Now, if it's not coming by way of government grants, which that's all stopped, and if it's not coming by way of revenues, in other words, like it's been a tough period, it's got to come from somewhere else. And the only other place it come from is borrowing.
Yep.
Or investors, I guess, but borrowing. And someone like Prime, non-bank like Prime Capital, they're actually helping make the economy grow again. And that's critical. Even if it's for a year or two or three, it doesn't matter. Yeah. It gets us out of a hole.
It's our purpose in life. And the other part about that is that, of course, real estate, residential real estate, has increased dramatically, as we all know, over the last couple of years. So businesses are able to tap into that equity to take that next growth step. And, that's pretty exciting, because I think I'm really bullish about the next couple of years. But people, as you say, need capital, and if they can tap into the capital easily, quickly, at a reasonable price, and then get from A to B, and then maybe go to a more conforming loan later, we can help them grow that business.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And if you can sort of present, and or brokers can present Prime Capital's product as a bridge, as you say, between getting your act together. In other words, the borrower getting his or her act together, getting their papers done, everything all sorted, and also getting some good rhythm and momentum in their business in terms of revenues, then that's perfect.
Yeah, and there'll be more overseas migration coming in, so there's going to be much more buoyancy in the economy, and that all takes cash. So that's what we're there for.
Take advantage.
We're looking now, I like to look at next steps, and the next step for that is, okay, if we've got a client and they've been a couple of years with us and they're doing well and they've cleaned up, we'll move them into an NCC type product. If they
do you have those products as well?
We do have them, yeah.
Good.
We basically trialling them and using them at the moment, but that's for us is a good future for the business as well. So the broker can move from one product to the next fairly seamlessly.
Basically at a lower interest rate with a longer term.
Yeah, and we can help, yeah.
That's great. So can I ask you one more thing, Steve, before we wrap? Can you tell us who's behind Prime? Like, who are the dudes that set it up? Who's got the vision there?
Yeah, well, that's interesting, because we've been around for 25 years, and our CEO is a guy called Paul Scanlon. Paul set up the business when he was in his late teens.
Serious?
As a private lender in the market, and has grown it from, somebody that has money and somebody who wants to borrow money to what it is today. And we've lent over $3 billion into the market in that period of time. So I've come at a pretty good time, right?
Totally. That's good. He's done the work.
He's done the work,
But he must be a young fella now still.
Yeah, he's only like in his early 40s.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, amazing guy. Yeah.
And where do they get their liquidity from? Do they tap capital markets, or do they get it, or do they go to high net wealth people?
No, we're not. We're actually really perceived as a private lender in the market, but we're not at all. We go to the securitization market,
right? Okay.
To fund our book. And
excellent.
And you have to have a lot of substance and a good business behind you to be able to do that well. So that's where we get our funds from.
That's great, because that gives you longevity if you're in the capital markets, as opposed to relying on high net wealth, because they tap out at some stage. That's exactly and and that relies on high net wealth having seeing lending at that rate as a better alternative than putting money into something else. And if something else comes up with a better yield, they pull out pretty quickly.
And certainly we're not in that market. And the thing for us is to have the continuity for our brokers.
Yep.
And we only deal with brokers, by the way. We don't deal direct to market, so that they can be confident that we've got the funds there. And that's one thing that Prime Capital can certainly offer the brokers, as well as really good service. Great team of BDMs, and some of my teams that have worked with me before have come to Prime with me as well. So
great.
It's really going well at the moment, and we're really happy with the way the business is going and the team is servicing it. And it's for me, Mark, even at my tender years, it's a great learning curve as well. I love learning new stuff. So
that's perfect.
You can bring a bit to it and learn a bit and use your contacts and that kind of thing. So I'm really enjoying it. Yeah.
Sounds like you're having a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Are you? Will I see you next year at the YBR Vow conference?
Mate, we're there for both the conferences.
Perfect.
We're booked in already. I think we've got the coffee cart.
Yeah.
So we'll have a little bit of a special thing for the brokers there too. If they come and get a cup of coffee, we're going to have some specials there.
So you're going to be at the both the residential and the commercial conferences?
We're going to be at both, mate.
I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Good on you,
very
mate.
Much, mate.
Thanks,
really
Steve.
good to see you. Thanks.
Same here.
Cheers.